Yeah, and I was lucky enough, Chris, to talk to so many former players and a guy like DJ Swearinger and, of course, Garcia. Yeah, you hear these former players over and over and over, and culture was the word that you kept hearing over and over, getting the culture back in the building. And when all of those guys, the Gamecock legends, are giving the guy the vote of confidence, it's hard to go against that, because I agree with you. There definitely was a spin cycle with coaches, and I was so glad that South Carolina – I mean, listen, if they would have hired Hugh Freeze, I'd have been behind him 110%. His track record speaks for itself. But I was happy for once. I felt like South Carolina just thought outside of the box. Like, hey, it might not work. I've told fans, it's like Shane Beamer, everything's feel good right now. We're in the honeymoon phase. They're saying all the right things, doing all the right things. The social media team is putting out great videos, like always. High vibes. We're high vibes right now. But we all know it's a results-oriented business. It'll be determined on the field, and we'll see where we're at 5-6 years from now.
Right.
But if nothing else, you're rolling the dice and seeing if maybe you can get a different result. Because I just feel like if you'd have done that typical, like you said, good old boy SEC hire, like it's almost wild to me Mike Bobo hasn't been a head coach in the SEC. Because it seems like he'd be one of the coaches getting recycled through. I mean, it's crazy.
Like 3 to 5, maybe 7 coaches. And I thought about this last year because of like the politics and stuff like that was going on with the election season. But it's like, people always say like, we need term limits. We have to have term limits so these fucking senators aren't like in office for like 87 years.
Term limits for college football? For SEC
we need
coaches?
term limits in college. I mean, like Mike Bobo, John Chavis, Kevin Steele. Yeah. Kevin Steele went to Tennessee for 2 weeks and got $950,000 for nothing. Yeah. And that was after he tried to steal a job from Gus Malzahn. Anyway, but yeah, like they need term limits on these things. I agree with you. I think outside the box is perfect. I had the biggest fear they were going to hire Billy Napier. And if they would have done that, it would have been a colossal failure, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and I know a lot of fans didn't love that because he was a former Clemson guy. I mean, it would have been a very, like, South Carolina fans, and I know it's probably something you shouldn't care about, but I think Gamecock fans would have never heard the end from Clemson fans. So, again, giving a Gamecock a chance, a former Gamecock, you bring in a guy in Shane Beamer that was there when you reached the heights of the program, the 1 year in your history you ever went to Atlanta, and somebody who can bring that experience back, and a guy who can point to, those murals and those accolades and say, I was there. I helped build that. I helped do it. We can do it again. I want to get your take on the overall staff, Chris, and we don't have to go through, obviously, each position coach and coordinator, but the thing that was really sold when Shane Beamer took the job was, okay, he's never been a head coach before. He's been under some great coaches. He's been under some great programs. I mean, heck, he comes from Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley. So he has great experience. But the thing that was sold with Shane Beamer is, okay, he doesn't have a lot of experience as a head coach, none at all, but he's going to hire big-time assistants. And we started hearing different OCs, different DCs, different position coaches. And, like, for me overall, I give him and his staff overall a B. Like, I think it's good. I think it's solid, but I think everybody has something to prove. I mean, there's a nice mix of veteran guys and NFL guys, and then you got a mix of guys like an Eric Kimry, who's a good buddy of mine, who played at South Carolina, who brings that, takes a Gamecock to know a Gamecock mentality. He's going to be the tight ends coach. He brings that passion.
First off, it takes us a Hammond Skyhawk to know a Hammond Skyhawk.
That's it.
As the former middle school defensive coordinator there in 2008, I also know Coach Kimry pretty well.
Yeah, there you go.
No, but I honestly, that's where I would start with this. Is that I love the fact that he brought in like the old old players to be coaches at like positions, and I'm not trying to this isn't a slight at them, but like who's the fullback? DeMarco?
Yeah, Patrick Marger. He's going to be an analyst. So I mean,
so it's like
offensive analyst.
I don't know how much he's gonna like in the same way Butch Jones. I don't know what he was doing at Bama necessarily, but like DeMarco being there in general and being like like stories, like being able to tell stories. Like you remember this from baseball, I'm sure. Like when you're around guys that like used to play there, or you're around guys that are like now in the bigs or whatever else. You guys just sit around and like shoot the shit. And it's fun listening to like these, war stories from like when they played, or like, you talked about like passing like a trophy or whatever. And like, let me tell you what happened in Atlanta, blah, blah, blah. I think stuff like that is where you create culture, and being able to have like, some of these traditions and things that are passed down from not just, fans and generations, but from team to team. So I think all of that is perfect that he brought those players back. I would start with Kimry. And the reason why is because, one, because I know him, like you were saying, and then two, that pipeline from Hammond is huge. And like, I know that it's, there's other talent in state and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not sure, like, I don't know what their track record is from signing every single big prospect out of that school, but Burge came from there.
Boogie Huntley came from there, big D tackle.
Yeah,
so,
they've done nothing but win championships there for like 15 years. And I think that like being able in a state like that it already is kind of like a little bit deprived of talent, like overall. That's huge. That's huge. And so having a guy like that, and like you said, like you're putting him at tight end. I think he's a tight ends coach, right?
Yeah.
But he's a Gamecock, and he's yet another guy that's like, you look at what puzzle piece he fits. And it's this guy that has, like he was a head coach in high school and has all the success. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
But he also has one of the greatest moments in Gamecock history that everyone knows and loves. So it's, again, creating that culture and trying to, revamp that.
Yeah. And I think what's such a breath of fresh air for South Carolina fans, and I know me personally, is just, again, finally giving those guys an opportunity. Because when Shane Beamer was looking, who am I going to hire? It's like, man, we've kind of went the route of hiring the Georgia alum, the Florida alum. I mean, I just Joe Cox was our wide receivers coach. I mean, come on, like, what does he know about? I'll never
get over that picture. I'm still scarred from that picture of him in the Sporting News.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. But anyway, so